Hi, my name is Jahcobie Cosom, and I am the director and co-producer of In My Mind, the Jahcobie Cosom documentary. Actually, I'm wearing multiple hats because I'm kind of doing the whole marketing thing. I also will be running camera periodically during the interviews. I'm working with my friend Jessica Huggins, who is the creative producer from Columbia College Chicago. I'm a graduate of Cal Arts, hence the shirt, represent film video. Woo woo. Um, First, I want to say thank you so much to the 27 funders from the Indiegogo. We have raised $825 so far, and really, this means so much to me. Secondly, I really want to say thank you to the 67 people who like the official Facebook page. Without this support, actually, not without the support, because that sounds all cliche and corny. I can't do it alone, and this gives me so much joy and happiness in my heart. And also that people have been sharing it, and people have been interested in it. I ask for you to continue to support and keep the buzz going, and I will tell everyone one thing. I'll be updating a lot more. Now we're starting to move quicker in towards production point for the first part. I'm trying to shoot a couple interviews on the East Coast this winter break. And I'll keep y'all updated with the trailer and footage, and the blog is about to be launched, which I'm really excited about. And let me go into what I really want to talk about today. I think memories are important, and I've had phone calls and emails and people who ask me, why are you making this film, Jahcobie? Is this like a rise of fame, claim to a star status? And what I say to them is, no, it's about us as young artists sharing our experiences, sharing day-to-day life, really there's so much controversy with sexuality in the media right now, gender, obesity, cancer, illness. There's so much happening right now. There's a presidential election around the corner, but who needs to speak up is young people. Our generation needs to claim, because it is our time. It's nobody else's time. This is the point where so many other people have done incredible things, and people are doing amazing things. I met a documentary filmmaker who's been spending months down on Skid Row doing documentaries about the homeless there. And these are incredible things that are happening, but aren't being streamlined and people don't know about. And it's time that action is taken. So I want to share a memory because today I read a Facebook status by a friend of mine who is now my friend, who used to be my teacher. His name is Joe Rourke, and he just finished his book, Fat School Confidential. And I want to share my memory of Joe, which actually connects to how I started to do films. And I actually made my first film when he was my teacher at the Academy of the Sierras. In 2005, I was 15 and I was 483 pounds. I had gotten a scholarship to go to Academy of Sierras, which is in Reedley, California. I had basically been taken out of Boston, taken out of art school, and I was miserable in my life. I truthfully didn't want to live. I felt so insecure. I was a theater major at that point in high school, and because of my own insecurities, it had really cut me off from being able to act and share my gift and to be able to really be the ensemble member that I wish I could have been in my years of high school. But I went to Academy of the Sierras where I met a lot of people, and Mr. Rourke was my English teacher, and I remember just thinking like the way he was able to engage us within the work was something I had never experienced. And me coming from an area where I haven't had the best education, I remember getting really frustrated at this one paper, And, you know, he let everyone else go. And he said, Jahcobie, stay, talk to me. And for 2 or 3 hours, we just talked. And he wanted to know more about, like, what was my education background in Boston, you know, kind of what my specialties were. And I was really honest with him. I said, you know, it's really hard being in your high school one day and then 2 days later, you're basically on a plane to the middle of some raisin field. And I told him I don't feel like I have the vocabulary. I don't feel like I can truthfully articulate myself. And my grammar is awful. I'm like the king of run-on sentences. And any of my teachers who have ever read my writing for the most part will know, like, a lot of trials and tribulations on that end. And I remember him just giving me an analogy about art. And he said, my understanding is you like art. You spoke a little bit about coming from an art school and stuff. And I said, yeah. And he said, you know, you have to look at grammar as an art. When you put a comma in some place, that is for your reader to stop and take a simple breath. And he just gave like the best examples. And I started to kind of understand. I didn't get it right away, and all the rest of the things I wrote were amazing. But it started to make me go, oh, all right. Instead of looking at a paper and a teacher telling me, this is a comma, and it's like this whole big pretentious statement about what a comma is, he was able to bring it down to my level. After that, we started working together on, there wasn't really a presence of art. There were artists, but we needed to collect ourselves. So there were a few of us who would start to meet together, and we would talk about different productions, and we were kind of like these passionate young kids losing weight at this camp, kind of forged into this whole prison-like system. I hate to say it like that, but kind of was. And through it, the community started to grow, and more of the kids started to join the art program, and I started directing. And this was new for me, but I knew that I had like background in art and that I could do it. The first play we did was actually Little Shop of Horrors. And that was really cool. That was the first musical we did. We did The Breakfast Club, which was extraordinary. And the performance space we used was an emu shed, E-M-U. Not an emo like the sad people, but emu. And I never knew what an emu was. And so we would put on these shows, and I would direct, and, you know, this person who had experience with singing would coach, and Mr. Rourke was really the faculty who stood by all of us, really helped us grow our artistic craft. And the funny thing about it is, this is the moment that opened up my love for Cal Arts. I found out that Mr. Rourke was a graduate of Cal Arts. And so I started to talk to him more about Cal Arts, and he would tell me these amazing stories about meeting great people and just not even describe the coursework or these things that commonly you would associate school with, but he started to describe the mentality and the consciousness of the people he was around, and how he went to school and he was inspired every day by the people around him, which made him want to get better at what he was doing. And that sounded like something, and it just stuck there in my head. I was 15, I had turned 16, I was losing weight, and then it came down to the end, and this is actually the first documentary I did. It was me and my friend Janine. We were going to a bowling alley trip, and I remember there weren't too many of us black students there at the weight loss school. And across the street, this was my first time also being around Mexican culture. I'm from Boston, and we have a lot of Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, but I never really had been around too many people of Mexican descent. And we were walking across the street, and all we heard was someone yell the N-word at us. And it was that point where I started to really think, like, I have no idea about life. Because here I thought, as someone who is a minority and underrepresented on many different levels, that we were all together in life, that, you know, racism couldn't exist within like an underrepresented class. And this got me angry at first, but that angry started to change something in me. I started to really question what was I doing with my art, and I had been kind of experimenting with images, and I didn't know really how to focus on kind of bringing this light to an issue to like the forefront, and also to putting it out into a community at my weight loss school that were predominantly very well off kids who like came from very closed environments, a lot of people I had met there hadn't really even had a black friend, and I was their first black friend. So I filmed interviews with Janine, and I started editing on Windows Movie Maker. Now I'm on Final Cut Pro. I'm like, wow, look at you, Mr. Fancy. And then this started to really make me understand the power of story. And I presented it at a talent show and also a couple other different times during what we would have summit meetings, which is the community coming together, discussing issues. They would talk about how weigh-ins went as a group, all the logistics of being a fat kid at school. And how people reacted really like surprised me. Because it was good. It got people talking. And, you know, afterwards, it was about maybe 100 of us. And we just sat and talked about this issue. And I shared, like, kind of, I realized, like, I'm 15, 16. Like, you know, you think you're all grown. I'm like, yeah, I've been from the hood. I'm from the hood. I didn't see people get shot. But then it was the first point I realized, like, wow, the whole world has issues, not just where I'm from, but the whole world. We have so many issues day to day between each other. And it was the beauty of this conversation that really propelled me. And then, you know, I still worked more with students, and we all worked together and did more things. And I was able to do my spoken word, and really, like, I'm really into when I direct, initiating movement and how people can show things with their body. And that's kind of what Sean LeCount, who was my teacher at the Boston Arts Academy, taught me my first year in theater, is about the 9 truths and about having, like, you have to have a reason for action as an actor. And this really transferred in with film and also me developing as a young artist. And the next documentary I did, which was kind of, I kept seeing all these things about self-image pop up, and we would have like little groups or whatever, counseling groups. And a lot of my friends were females because, you know, I was really just now starting to understand what it was like to be a gay man. And I was young and I was openly gay. And I started to notice that a lot of my friends who were thin had such bad self-image issues because of media and where they were from. And I started to feel responsible, like, you know, people can say, oh, men make self-image. But no, as society, we make self-image. And I can look at my friend's eye, and I don't care if she's 350 pounds, but she's beautiful. And I can understand why my friends couldn't see their beauty that they were birthed with. And I was like, you know what? We're going to do a makeover. So I had this fashion show, and the opening was like a cut together like commercial but documentary style. I had them in like one-piece bikinis, like I did their hair. That's back when I used to do hair. And they were in the river and just posing like they were high fashion couture models. And I had the film play and the emu shed on 2 sides, and I had a runway walk down, and all these women could walk the runway and to claim back their beauty. And it was such a beautiful moment for me. And I felt good about myself. And more than that, I felt like I had a responsibility from there on in. Like, when I had gotten back to Boston, I couldn't go and choose to go on different paths. I had to keep going on a path where I'm putting out a message, where I'm challenging myself, where also I'm exploring who I am. And finally, I'm going to close that period with just saying it was because of Joe Rourke. He was the first person who ingrained me with going to Cal Arts, because he told me, He didn't say it was the best art school in the country. He said he was around people who inspired him. So therefore, he knew he had to reach further along in his goals. He had to get better. And look where I went, Cal Arts, and I loved it. It was wild and great, just like we had talked about, but I was a leader there. And I love the school, and I will always be proud that I got my Bachelor of Fine Arts in Film Video program at California Institute of the Arts. And I'm proud of my colleagues, and I'm proud of the whole institute, and I think we are a voice that is really coming up. And I'm glad of my independent vision. And this brings me really back to the In My Mind Jahcobie documentary. Obesity, sexuality, illness, race, relationships, generation, and age are all misrepresented subjects right now. And they're underrepresented. And I think that's wrong. People miscontextualize, and people automatically assign labels to, oh, you're fat, so you must eat really bad, and your life must be awful, and da-da-da-da. But that's not the case. You can't generalize everyone by something. Sexuality, oh my God, you're a pedophile. And I've gotten this from even friends I've had to let go because they thought because I was gay and I was open, I was a pedophile. And to have your best friends tell you at different points of your life that you're going to go to hell and you're going to die of AIDS and all this stuff. And, it definitely leaves a mark. It leaves, and it would be a lie for me to say it doesn't make me angry. I can try to be like this optimistic person and be like, well, I understand it's an ignorance. Yeah, but there's no excuse for ignorance. There's no excuse when people are dying every day, diseases being spread around everywhere from any type of people. Terrorism is happening. People are starving. The world is in really bad shape. The environment's going down. And, the only way we're going to fix this is by, for one thing, taking accountability. Secondly, is sharing our own personal stories so other people don't feel alone. And that's another problem. People don't share enough of themselves. If we talked about so many issues that we happen day to day, and I'm not talking about, it's great Facebook and Twitter, but if we go back to the basics, how many people say to friend, today I felt so shitty for a second. I thought about, if I died, would anyone care? Nobody says that. People need to talk more about these issues. What it is to be gay? What does it feel like to be Black? What does it feel like to have a diverse group of friends? What does it mean to have self-image issues? And we have to hold each other accountability and help each other take steps, because that's really the only way these things are going to happen. And I know this video's long, but I want to talk about a few points why the documentary I'm working on is important in a social context. On the cancer side, cancer is usually talked about in babies, kids, and old people. And I don't have to say much more about that, but there's not so many people talking about what does it mean to have cancer and be in your 20s. I got diagnosed at 19. Went through an awful experience my first time in treatment. Then when I finally went through my treatment, I turned 21 in chemo. And by going to the support groups I've been going to, I started to realize that there are a lot of us who go through cancer in our 20s. And it has effects for the rest of my life. Whatever relationships I'm in, how do you tell someone who you like, I'm in remission for cancer, and it's something I'm always going to have to deal with, and just there's so much insecurity that comes from that. And then I add me even struggling still with my weight on it, life isn't perfect. I want to be able to shop at Banana Republic and wear those tight skinny jeans, and even girdles really fascinate me. And I hate to wear, at first I was wearing sleeves for it because I have my skin sags and stuff because I've lost about 300 pounds. I wear girdles for a period, and I remember just feeling so closed in and disgusting. It didn't make me feel happy about myself, yeah, but like my shape was a little bit slender, but it just felt so false. And I started to think like, you already know I'm big. Why do I need to like close myself in or just like wear these big shirts when you already know my body size? And it's okay because I'm still beautiful and I walk up straight and I can go in a room and, I play sports with my friends and I don't care if my chest is bouncing. Like, we all have our imperfections. So if you have a problem, get over yourself, boo. That was just my little rant. So socially, a lot of things have been miscontextualized. And with this film, I'm not going to say, it's not a story about being an idol or any of that, because I'm not an idol at all. What I am, I'm a 22-year-old black gay man who deals with his weight, who, will have to deal with cancer in some form his whole life, who is still finding out what it means to be human, who still cries when I don't get the text back from the guy I like, who still feels like he's bipolar and has to calm himself down and remember that if I go to sleep the next day, will be so much better. And I want to share that, and I want to put a face to a lot of things that are misrepresented and let people know that they're not alone, that we're not alone in this world. And we think often we might have so many people around us that we're alone, but that's not true. We're all humans. And anybody who I meet, it's like you smile at someone. When you're walking by, don't just be in your head. How do you think someone else feels? Maybe like somebody needs a smile. You don't know what people are going through. And I've always thought about that, because the things that have saved my life have always been the small gestures. The people who have impacted me and became some of my best friends, it was the simplest thing. Like, here, you just spilled your milk. Here's my milk, because really I don't like milk, even though my mom says I need more calcium. And I know that was so corny. But again, I want to thank you for your support, and I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. I'm going to do a lot more video logs and keep everybody updated, because it's about to be 2013, and we need to come together. And I'm going to put myself out there, and this documentary's personal for me in so many ways, but also I need to close chapters in my life and not be ashamed of it. And also I want to start a bigger dialogue, and I want people, and I want people to be more of themselves and not to be ashamed of it. And and I want even my parents and people I know who are older, who are stuck in their ways, who are fearful of taking the next step in their lives, to be inspired by us as a generation, because that's really what it's about. Is we owe it to our parents, to the people who came before us, to be better than they were and to achieve more things that they could have. Because what's the point if we haven't developed past what others have? And I want to say happy Tuesday, and we have 17 days left in the Indiegogo. And really, I'm learning a process about that. I set my goal campaign too high, and that's, but I'm 22 and I'm still learning this business. But I can tell you I have passion, I have dedication, I have talent, and I have technicality, and I know what I'm doing. And I hope that you will give me and my team a chance to make a film that is not only independent, but is ambitious, and it's not a sob story. And there will be parts that are emotional, but the whole thing is kind of like comedy on crack, if you know what I'm saying. Because life is truly comedy. The funniest things are the most true, and that's what my goal is to put the truest self onto the screen and hope at least one person walks away and says, you know what, I'm not going to feel ashamed about being me, and I'm going to close the chapters on where I've been, because I know where I'm going. Thank you, and everyone have a beautiful Tuesday, and I hope you'll support it. For the link, Jahcobie, for the In My Mind Jahcobie Cosom documentary, you can go to indiegogo.com/JCP, or you could check out the Facebook, which is facebook.com, the Jahcobie Cosom documentary, or you can email me, whatever. I'm open. You can email Jessica. And 3 hugs, 2 kisses, 1 love. Bye, everyone. Tell me how you like it.